The bonsai tree, a symbol of art, patience, harmony. And contrary to popular belief, not the best gift idea that you could come up with. These little cheerful trees might seem like the perfect gift for your plant-loving friend or your artsy relative, but let me give you 5 solid reasons why you might want to opt for another gift than a little bonsai tree. As any pet owner would tell you, a pet needs constant attention and care, and a bonsai tree is not too far off from that, just with less cute puppy eyes and more wires attached to it. Watering schedules, pruning, wiring, repotting, bonsais really demand commitment from their owner. You forgot to water it for a couple of days, that bonsai. You then panicked and overwatered it out of guilt, also that bonsai. Gifting somebody a bonsai is like handing them a tiny little green commitment that they have to then take care of. And of course, this constant care is needed to keep your tree healthy. I mean, you can probably go without pruning for a little bit, you can go without wiring for a bit, but the tree will lose its shape and you will feel like you're not getting the most out of that tree. So it brings a factor of stress into a gift. And of course, when we give a gift, we don't want to give somebody something that stresses them. We want to give something that sparks joy in them. But if then suddenly they are completely over their head with what they have to do with this gift, that rather leads to stress them. So of course we try to avoid that. So unless you have a friend that explicitly asked for a new lifetime hobby, maybe opt for another present. Let's be honest, not everybody lives in a bonsai's dream home. The person you have in mind for gifting a tree might live in a small apartment. They maybe are frequent travelers, often not home for long stretches of time. Or they simply have busy schedules that will lead to them neglect the bonsai you gave them. So you see, a bonsai doesn't fit every lifestyle, and you cannot make this tree fit your lifestyle. You have to adjust your lifestyle to fit to the needs of the tree. And of course, if somebody's not willing to do that, that gift of harmony actually turns into a hassle in the end. So we see they don't fit the lifestyle, but coming back to the apartment, they might not also live in an apartment where the exact tree species that you want to buy will survive in their house. We already limit it now to indoor bonsai. If we say we gift something that they keep inside, then you need to think about, do they have the right light conditions? Do they have the right humidity? Do they even have space where they can put this tree where it will fit and survive for a long time? It's very difficult if you are not living in that environment to give somebody a tree that fits specifically for their needs or the needs of the tree, and if they can provide for those needs. A typical bonsai can cost anywhere between, let's say, $20 up to a couple of $1,000s. So sure, for your gift you could grab a cheap tree online, but they might come with surprises, like for example pests, or they already arrive half dead because in transit they already dried out. So if you then opt for a more decent bonsai, that is quite a hefty investment. And what you have to keep in mind also is that also maintaining a bonsai comes with certain costs. Specific tools, fertilizer, soil, that all of course comes with a price tag, especially beginners that get gifted a tree, they want to go full in, and then it becomes suddenly a really big investment. So of course there are low-cost way of how you can care for your trees. You're not buying the most expensive tools maybe, you can often just with garden shears make your way through bonsai. You don't have to invest in the most expensive pots you find, but there are certain things you need. You do need proper soil, you do need fertilizer, and at one point you will need wire to continue shaping the tree the way you want it to. So there are some costs, and maybe people simply do not want to invest in a hobby that they might not have picked for themselves, or they lose interest, and then you gave them something that feels more like something they have to feel guilty about because they know they should invest something but they don't want to, but it was a gift and so they should somehow. So why not avoid this by simply not giving them a living thing they have to take care of and invest money in further in the first place. So unless the friend or relative you want to give a bonsai tree to is willing to also continue with these costs, maybe stay clear and opt for another gift. A bonsai tree and the history of bonsai is steeped in tradition and in art. For many of us bonsai enthusiasts, that is part of the magic. But especially for beginners, it can also be somewhat intimidating. So for that friend that you might have gifted their first bonsai tree to right now, they might feel like they're failing at this ancient art that has so much tradition every time they prune a branch in the wrong way or they apply wire in the wrong way. So this could be a lot of pressure for something that was actually meant as just a nice little gift. And of course, we want to avoid our friends actually then feeling guilty because they cannot keep alive the gift we gave them. The beauty of the hobby of bonsai is going out for, we could almost say the hunt for a new tree. So really looking for that specific tree or nursery material that you have your eyes on, that you have the vision for turning into a complete bonsai. And even for beginners, of course, when you get your first tree, you want that tree to be specifically picked by you. It was the tree that you found, that you wanted. So if somebody gives you that tree, that might not be the tree you would have opted for. So if you gift now a tree to a friend, they might not be really happy with the one you picked, because we all have, when it comes to bonsai, with different aesthetics that we find the most pleasing. So they might have looked at a different variety completely, or they might have looked at a different style. So it's quite difficult to really catch the exact taste that somebody has for their first tree, or any tree. And here's another thing, even if your friends succeed with keeping those trees alive, they can live up to decades, even centuries, some of those trees. So this is not just a fun little gift you give somebody and they will have joy with it for a couple of weeks and that's it. And a bonsai tree can be a lifelong commitment. It might even end up being inherited to the next generation at one point. And let's be honest, who is really ready for a commitment like that? Okay, so we looked at some of the reasons why gifting a bonsai tree might not be the best idea. But what are maybe bonsai adjacent gift ideas that you could pivot to rather, that still will bring joy to your friends or relatives? What about, for example, a bonsai themed art book, or also bonsai themed classes if possible? So simply the theory behind creating bonsais, or the art book also picturing beautiful specimen of bonsai. So especially for bonsai enthusiasts that is already very much into the hobby, art book could really make sense. For somebody who really just wants to begin with this hobby, maybe some classes on where they learn the basics of taking care of bonsai could be also a perfect gift. This way you take off this pressure of simply receiving a tree and suddenly you have to already know how to take care of it. By giving somebody just access to a course, for example, they learn how to take care of it before they decide on what tree they want to get themselves. And if you know they already look for a tree, of course, it could also be that your idea of a perfect tree doesn't really align with their idea of a perfect tree. So why not give them a gift card for a plant shop, for example, where they can go browsing themselves and then really look for their specific tree that they want to have. And let's be honest, we all have those sort of friends we know simply don't have a green thumb. They don't really have the commitment to stick to keeping a plant alive. So why, instead of a bonsai tree, you don't opt for a sand garden? It can be still quite relaxing, brings harmony to simply rake some sand, align the stones, also simply work on those inanimate objects and still get some beauty out of that, without the actual commitment of having to keep a living thing alive. So there you have it, 5 reasons why gifting a bonsai is probably not the best idea. Hopefully the alternative ideas that I showed you today is something that you could think of rather than gifting a bonsai tree. Because remember, in the end, a gift should bring joy, not stress. And by giving somebody a tree that they suddenly have to take care of without them maybe even having to wanted that tree, that definitely rather goes in the direction of stress than joy. So thanks for watching. Of course, feel free to leave a like or subscribe to my channel if you enjoy the content here, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.